The Clockmaker in the Mist. It was a small town with quiet streets and soft gray mist. The mist came every morning and stayed until evening. People walked slowly. Buses moved slowly. Even the river looked slow, like a long silver ribbon under the bridge. I had moved to the town 2 weeks earlier. I was new. I did not know the best cafe, the fastest bus, or the warmest bakery. I knew only the fog, the church bell, and the narrow road to my apartment. On a Tuesday, I heard a sound on my way home. It was a clear, gentle sound. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I followed the sound along the main street, past the closed cinema and the flower shop. There, between two tall buildings, I saw a very small store. A wooden sign hung over the door. The sign said, Noah's Clocks. I did not remember this store from yesterday. Maybe I had missed it in the mist. Maybe the mist hid it from me. Inside, the air was warm and smelled like wood and tea. Many clocks stood on the walls and on the shelves. Big clocks, small clocks, round clocks, square clocks. They all ticked together, but each tick felt a little different, like many small hearts. An old man stood behind the counter. He had kind eyes and steady hands. He looked at me as if he already knew me. He asked if I liked the sound of time. I said yes, because the sound felt calm and honest. It was a simple sound. It always moved forward. Tick-tock, tick-tock. He showed me a little pocket watch and a glass case. The watch was silver, and a soft light sat on its face. The hands were moving, but very slowly, as if they were careful with each second. I liked the watch at once. It looked quiet and brave. The old man told me the watch was special. He said it helped people notice small things. A bird's wing, a warm cup, a long breath, a kind word. He said the watch did not change time. It changed attention. If I paid attention, my day could feel wider and brighter. I smiled. I did not know I needed a watch, but I felt I needed this one. The old man wrapped it in paper and put it in a small box. Before I left, he gave me a tiny brass key. He said the watch needed winding with the key, not just for time, but for meaning. If I forgot to wind it, I might forget the small things that make a day feel full. Outside, the mist felt thinner. I could see the church tower and the bridge more clearly. I walked home with the box in my coat pocket. I heard the soft ticking like a friendly whisper. That night, I opened the box on my kitchen table. I held the watch and the small key. On the back of the watch, I found a short line carved into the metal. Look closely. I smiled again. It was a simple line, but it felt true. I turned the key 3 times. The watch began to tick a little louder. Tick, tock. Steady, gentle, alive. I placed it on my table and made tea. The steam rose in a slow white ribbon. I noticed the sound of the kettle, the shape of the cup, the streetlight outside my window. The watch did nothing to the world, but the world looked new. The next morning, the mist was early and thick. The town looked like a soft painting. Buses moved like shadows. I put the watch in my pocket and went out. When I reached the bakery, the line was long. People were quiet and a little cold. I turned the key once and the watch ticked in my hand. The line still moved slowly, but I noticed a small thing. The smell of fresh bread, warm and sweet. I noticed the baker's careful hands and his short, friendly nod. The weight did not change, but my mood did. On my way to work, I crossed the bridge. The river slipped under me like liquid glass. The mist hugged the water. I stopped for a moment and listened to the watch. Tick-tock. The sound felt like a guide, like steps on a simple path. At the office, the day began with emails and small tasks. People typed and clicked and looked at screens. At noon, the lights flickered. The room went quiet. The power failed for a minute. In that short, silent minute, I heard my watch more clearly than before. Tick, tock. The sound calmed me. When the lights returned, the room felt a little brighter. Not because of the bulbs, but because the silence had cleared a little space in my head. After work, I walked home through a side street with old brick buildings and low windows. A cat slept in a doorway. A bicycle leaned against a wall. The mist was back, soft and heavy. I felt the watch in my pocket, and I turned the key again. In that moment, I noticed something small but strange. A faint glow from a narrow alley I had never used. It was not a strong light. It was the kind of light that asks, not the kind that tells. I followed the glow. The alley bent once and then again. At the end stood a tiny courtyard with a single wooden bench and a little fountain. Water fell in a thin line like a string of glass beads. On the bench lay a folded note. The paper was thick and pale. I looked around. No one was there. The town was quiet. The mist listened. I opened the note. It had only 3 words: wind and listen. I smiled because the words were simple and familiar. I turned the key in my watch. The ticking grew a little stronger. I sat on the bench and listened to the fountain, the soft step of someone far away, the low hum of a bus on the main road, the tiny whisper of leaves on a tree. There was no big message, no secret map, no loud truth. There was only attention, and in attention, there was comfort. I took the note with me, not as a clue, but as a reminder. On the way home, I passed Noah's clocks. The small door was closed, but a warm light moved behind the curtains. I wondered if the old man had left the note. I did not know. I did not need to know. For the next few days, my routine stayed the same. The bakery, the bridge, the office, the quiet walk home. But I began to notice small patterns. The bus arrived 1 minute later on rainy days. The baker tied his apron twice when the morning was busy. The river carried tiny leaves faster after lunch. I wound the watch at the same times each day. Once in the morning, once at noon, once in the evening. The 3 turns of the key became 3 small promises to pay attention. On Friday, the town changed. It did not change in a big way. It changed like a breath. The mist lifted early. Sunlight touched the roofs, and people walked a little faster. At lunch, a coworker invited me to the square for a small market. Musicians played soft songs. A woman sold honey in glass jars. A man cut paper into beautiful shapes. I held my watch and felt the tick-tock under my fingers. I repeated the words from the back. Look closely. And I did. That evening, I returned to Noah's clocks to thank the old man. The sign still hung above the door, but the door would not open. I pressed the bell. No sound came. I looked through the window. The shelves were empty. The counter was gone. The shop was gone. I stood on the sidewalk, surprised and a little sad. I checked the number on the wall to make sure I was on the right street. I was. The flower shop was still there. The cinema was still closed. But the clock shop had vanished, like a dream at noon. I walked home slowly and listened to the watch in my pocket. Tick, tock. The sound did not change. The sound kept its promise. On my kitchen table, I placed the watch, the small key, and the folded note. I made tea and watched the steam rise. I thought about the shop, the kind eyes of the old man, the way the mist could hide a door and then show it again. I did not know if I would find the shop tomorrow or next week or never. The not knowing felt light, not heavy. The next morning, I made a small plan. I would carry the watch, wind it 3 times a day, and look closely wherever I went. I would choose one small thing each day and give it a long moment. The color of the honey in sunlight, the sound of the fountain in the hidden courtyard, the smile of a stranger who holds a door, the rhythm of the bus on an empty road. Days turned into weeks. The town did not become louder. It became clearer. The mist still arrived early, but I knew it was only a soft cover. Behind it, the town was awake. I started to learn the best cafe and the warmest bakery. I learned the quietest bench in the park and the best hour for a long walk across the bridge. One evening, when the sky was pink and the river held the last light, I felt a new weight in my coat pocket. It was not heavy, just present. I reached in and found a second note, small and folded, warm for my hand. I did not know how it had arrived there. I opened it slowly. The note said, "Time is not only numbers, time is attention." I smiled in the fading light. I put the note next to the first one on my table. I did not need to ask who wrote it. I did not need to find an answer on a map. The answer was in my day, in the way I now move through the town, in each small thing I chose to see. On Sunday, I walked to the bridge with the watch in my pocket and the key in my hand. The river was low and calm. A child fed birds. A couple shared a quiet bench. I wound the watch 3 times and listened to the steady sound. Tick, tock. I let the sound carry me across the bridge and into a new week. Sometimes I still look for Noah's clocks when the mist is thin and the street is kind. Sometimes I think I see a soft light between 2 buildings. Sometimes there is nothing there. But always there is the watch, the key, the notes, and the simple promise I made to myself. Look closely. And when I keep that promise, the town is not only a place. It is a story that opens page by page with every careful step and every gentle tick of time.